Thank you so much for joining us again on this episode of Your Take. Let's start with our first segment, which is what on earth is that? So where we're identifying our foods. So this particular food today is the date or dates. They are very sweet, so for the person that has a sweet tooth, this is going to be good news for you. They are also very readily available in our local markets. I think they're very common with Muslims, especially during the fasting period. So if you have Muslim friends, you could ask them and they'll give you more insight on them. But they're called dates, and what they have is, as sweet as they are, they can give us a quick rush of energy. So instead of looking for coffee or instead of looking for glucose shots or powder, you could actually just pick 1 or 2 dates when you feel you have so very low energy, and then get back your energy to keep you going through the day. Another thing they would provide us with a lot of is vitamins. All these raisins, dates, cherries have lots of vitamins, and so vitamin C is definitely in there. You'd benefit a lot from that, and definitely by the end of that you're able to boost your immune system. So please incorporate dates into your menus. They're so available, and their prices have gone down like 3 times from what they used to be when they were still so rare. So enjoy yourselves as well. Then we'll go into our second segment, which is the question and answer segment. We're starting with a question that came in from Patricia, and she was asking us what a leaky gut means, because the word seems to be very common these days, and she's wondering what exactly is a leaky gut. So a leaky gut basically, if your intestinal lining has been destroyed, say from not having meals on time, say from the types of foods you eat, maybe too much junk, sometimes we can affect the structure of the intestinal, the intestines, the inside of our stomachs. And when that happens, then some foods easily leak, even when they are not fully digested. They easily leak inside the bloodstream before they are actually fully digested. And if you have that, then the body is going to see those foods which are not ready yet for it to use as like toxins or some foreign bodies, and therefore it will react or respond. And the way that the responses usually manifest, sometimes you have tummy upset, sometimes you have sleepless nights, you don't have sleep, sometimes you're tired for no reason, you've not even worked so much but you feel tired, headaches, countless ways that it manifests in many people. So that's basically what a leaky gut is. Maybe what we need to take into consideration is we need to mind our stomach health, because that's the actual basis for good health. If you're eating right for your tummy to be healthy, then you're going to be much more able to fight off disease. You're going to be much more able to live a healthier life. So mind your stomach health, take care of your stomach before anything else. That also includes eating foods that will not harm your tummy. That's why we don't recommend so much of junk foods. Now you know. Then also another thing we can take into account is highly processed foods are usually the cause of what destroys our intestinal lining, and also very concentrated foods. For example, there was a time we had a partaker that was asking us about taking concentrated coconut oil, and it was affecting them. So be careful not to have too concentrated foods, but also avoid highly refined foods. Thank you, Patricia. We go on to Aaron P, who was asking about heartburn. He was asking, can foods cause heartburn? Yes, they definitely can, Aaron, and the rest of the partakers, they definitely can, so we need to be careful. But what may cause heartburn for one person may not cause heartburn for another. So you just always need to observe your body system and how it reacts to different foods. You need to know that this is an individual responsibility. You don't expect that how another person eats and is affected by food is the same way it will be for you. So be mindful of what you eat, watch what you eat. When you figure out that something actually affects you and gives you heartburn, avoid it or reduce its quantity. Maybe you're eating too much of it. Or maybe you're not having enough other accompaniments. For example, you don't have water after having your food. If you're the type that doesn't drink water, you may also get such heartburn issues. So Another important fact to remember is to please take your time eating your food. Sometimes we chew so fast, like we are running MTN marathon or something. We chew so fast, and that also affects how food is digested, or even how the stomach is able to contain food, and that may still cause heartburn. So take your time eating your food. It's not a race. Then water, like we have already mentioned, will be very helpful with trying to relieve you of heartburn, and then also lots of vegetables and some fruits, for example cucumbers, ginger also can help, bananas also are great with heartburn. So when you feel you have a heartburn, just focus a lot more on vegetables, and it would help relieve you of that heartburn. Then we have another question that's coming in from Nantongo, and she's saying, I feel disciplined food-wise, but when it comes to exercise, I have really failed. Is there any other option for exercise? I think basically our biggest problem is we think exercise is always going to the gym or jogging, and yet exercise has many faces. Let's come to understand that. Exercise basically is something intentional that you decide to do on top of your daily physical activity to make you more physically fit and active. So if I'm digging, that's exercise. If I am taking a walk with my dog, that's exercise. If I am, playing with children in daycares, that's exercise. So sometimes we restrict ourselves so much because we feel we don't have the motivation to go to the gym. But if we find something we love that could keep us more active, then we might actually be exercising without even knowing it. So figure out what you love and then focus on that, and you'll be exercising. Maybe another thing that we could talk about is to keep you motivated, you need to find groups of people that are actually interested in the same activities you are. For example, if you're a person that likes, let's say, bungee jumping, then find a group of travelers that that have travel as a hobby. Then you'd be able to keep up with your bungee jumping. If there are people that like roller skating, for example, if there are people that like jogging, then you have to look for people that are constantly watching out for which marathons. These days there are even so many fitness jogging clubs and groups of people, so you can easily join them and get on with that. Then we have the other question that comes in from Maggie K, and she was asking, what are some of the sources of rodents in our kitchens? Rodents are things like rats, like mice, things that will come and the problem with them is they come and they have the potential to get us infected with disease and other health conditions we may not want to deal with, some of which is food poisoning, and then just so many other little bacteria that they could bring into our body systems that will cause sickness to us. So definitely we need to avoid them. Thank you so much, Maggie, for asking that. Maybe one of the lessons we could learn, definitely there are so many places. If you have uncovered food, then you're going to have rodents in your kitchen. If you're not cleaning the crevices, say near the sinks, usually we ignore those parts. Sometimes food fills up in there, and that's when rodents come in. If you have strong smelling foods, find a way to store them very well. If you're not storing your foods, let's say your flours and grains, you're not putting them in airtight containers, then the rats will have access, of course, and your kitchen will be another nursery for rats and rodents. So when you are dealing with rodents, please manage your kitchen in a timely manner, in the sense that if there is something that has spilled, for example, if milk has just spilled, please clean it up as quick as you can. If juice has just spilled, clean it up as quick as you can. That would avoid, aside just rats, but you would have so many other things you would have avoided, say ants, say cockroaches. So be mindful of that. It's about being timely. We have another question that came in from Taremwa Precious, and she was asking if we can distinguish between bad fat and good fat for her. I think we're always saying, focus on good fat and leave out the bad fat, but people are getting confused on what exactly is good fat and what exactly is bad fat. So a few things that would help point you in the right direction to know whether this is a bad fat or a good fat. Usually if at room temperature, say not in the fridge or not in an oven or not on fire, you have a fat that is solid in nature, then it tends to be more of a bad fat. But if you have one that can still remain liquid even at room temperature, then it's more of a good fat. Then Usually, we prefer that you do more of plant-based oils instead of animal-based fats, because those are the ones that usually have the bad fat which we call saturated fat. So please focus more on having more plant oils than animal fats. I think those would help you, dear Precious. Thank you so much for sending in your questions. You've been an awesome audience. I'm going to leave you with a quote, our wellness quote. Create healthy habits and not restrictions. If you restrict yourself, then it's going to be hard to keep up. But if you make a healthier habit and more fun, then you're going to be able to keep it up until the last day of your very long, fruitful life. If you would like to join us and participate, send in your questions, send in your comments and your feedback. Connect with us on Facebook. We are at Amanda Twebaze -nutritionist. Even on Instagram, it's Food Witness. On Blogger, we have a blog basically about food. It's amandatwebaze.blogspot.com. The number, if you want to connect with us on WhatsApp, is also going to be running down on your screen, so you could save that and send in your questions and your queries anytime. Otherwise, I'm so pleased that we were able to, host you today. Have a fabulous week. We shall see you next time on this very, very channel. Bye.